You know, it's human to wonder what a world war would be like with waifus, but ultimately, that's obviously an illogical notion. If waifus had been around for the world wars, there would be no world wars. Hopefully, anyway, right? In today's humble opinion, we're figuring out who the heck Valkyria Chronicles for. If you're familiar with the Valkyria Chronicles series, you would know that it's the only series that could juxtapose themes of racism and wartime tragedy with overly goofy anime tropes and still somehow manage to get away with it. The good news is that they've gotten rid of the flying pig, but the bad news is they've replaced it with a hat-wearing Shiba Inu medic that runs into gunfire to save its friends. While that's cute and all, I call bullshit. If you don't know anything about the Valkyria Chronicles series, you're probably wondering why they accidentally littered turn-based team tactics into your war-themed visual novel, and also why that hat-wearing Shiba Inu medic that runs into gunfire to save its friends doesn't get more screen time. Hello, presumed audience of the Valkyria Chronicles franchise. At its core, that's essentially what this game is. The thing is loaded with so many cutscenes that you'd still spend more time skipping through them than you would actually getting to play levels featuring gameplay, including little story interludes that interrupt the level to feature some character progression or battle event. Granted, you can skip any and all of the cutscenes should you choose to, but when the rest of the gameplay is so enjoyable, you almost feel obligated to watch the story that they obviously felt was important enough to cram into every little nook and cranny. That doesn't mean the story's good. It's another nature-loving protagonist, this time capable of divining weather patterns and danger through the whispers of the wind. I hear that Valkyria Chronicles 5 will feature a squad leader that chooses his military tactics based on how many toothpicks he can count as they fall to the ground and in what patterns they land. The main point of friction is between him and a girl who blames him for the death of her parents years ago, and no wait, that problem apparently has been resolved. I guess it's still the whole war thing then, huh? The storytelling relies on heavy repetition of themes and military tactics that ostensibly mean nothing. Generally you'll see things like, "We're outnumbered and low on resources, but we can't back down now," or "I have to earn my squad's trust because they have negative feelings toward me and their lives are in my hands. Impossible odds and the power of friendship, yada yada yada." It's like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure in terms of Deus Ex Machina, but without all of that visual intrigue. We're going to attack this single stronghold that will utterly cripple the enemy while they're conveniently distracted is a great plan and all. I won't fault you for that, but I have no basis for which to accurately assess why this is an impressive call, or even if it's the best call. So the personal story takes a backseat to the military story, but the military story takes a backseat to the personal stories, and I don't really understand why any of it's necessary in the first place, but it makes up 75% of the file content, you know? Anyway, I guess that's neither here nor there. The gameplay is what we're all here for, after all. And rest assured, when you actually get to it, it's loads of fun and contains an intriguing amount of depth. As is typical for the franchise, you have a handful of classes that specialize to fill unique roles in your squad. Scouts have a lot of action points so they can cover a good portion of the battlefield in a single bound, while grenadiers are slow moving but have an impressive range and versatility good enough for surprise attacks and massive damage. On top of that, they've added an ATV and the concept of leaders so that you can tactically group some of your units together and get them where they can be most effective, all of which are concepts that make the relationships all the more interesting as each character has their own preferences for who they hang around and who they'll join in for an extra deadly combo attack. They've also got their own combat traits that make them more or sometimes less effective in the middle of combat under different circumstances. If you use specific people in enough missions, you'll unlock side missions featuring certain clusters of those people that will unlock further potentials. Outside of that, we also have experience points that can be used to level up entire classes, whatever the hell the points that you use to purchase weapons and tank parts are, confiscated weapons, specialty equipment, and tank decals that help you to tweak each of the characters within a class to be exactly the tool you need for whatever niche situation you can think of. It doesn't necessarily have to be that deep for your casual player, but it certainly can be if you're at that level. Now, I've seen a fair few rumors circulating around that you can break certain classes or that one strategy is somehow busted over another, but from what I can tell thus far, the game seems pretty balanced. It's a halfway decent challenge that's difficult without being overwhelmingly so. That being said, the RNG element inherent in its genre tends to make it feel inconsistent in that you can attempt to perform the same strategy 2 times and end up with wildly different results. Should a sniper fail to hit a headshot 3 times in a row, you've just spent a lot of wasted resources into your turn, which is hard to balance intrinsically and admittedly, but it doesn't change the fact that it still feels worse to fail than it feels good to succeed. If you're having me aim first person down a sniper scope, a hit is what's expected. That's what snipers do. XCOM using a similar system doesn't feel quite so cheesy in terms of that presentation because you don't see it firsthand. Ultimately, so long as you know what you're getting into, I'd say that Valkyria Chronicles 4 earns a solid 7 out of 10, with fans of the series maybe rating it higher, while people that have no idea what they're getting into might put it lower. One critic, Ahmed450 for example, has given it a 5 out of 10 on my live stream at Twitch, stating, "It's too fucking dramatic and weird. It's a fun game when everything is functioning within a few degrees of what you would expect, but the cutscenes do more to wear you down than pad the opportunities the RNG has to piss you off. But for as half-baked as the story comes across sometimes, you can't help wondering what comes next, even if it has you rolling your eyes." Thank you everyone for watching, and special thanks to Sega for the efforts they put into making Valkyria Chronicles as lovable as it is. I can appreciate that even if it's not what I think it should be, it's still plenty great and grows on you like a lump. Thanks for Raz, by the way, because without his biting cynicism, I think I'd have ground my own face into a sheet of revolving sandpaper. Until next time, you can catch me at twitch.tv/JonathanIsBadAtGames to watch my experiences with these games live for a more freeform style of opinion. I'll see you there. Remember that failure is not the worst case scenario. To go on with your bad selves and stay awesome.